Hi, this is Yajen with Gimme CrossFit in Dimas, and today we're going to talk about air quality, wildfire smoke, and what that has to do with exercising outdoors and whether or not you should be exercising outdoors right now if there's a bunch of wildfires going on in your area. For a little context, we're currently in October here, October 2020 in Southern California, and there are just fires going on everywhere. So some of the days I'm even looking out across the street and it's almost hard to see across the street with all the smoke and the haze that it's created within the air there. So this is a question that's kind of come up a lot within the past couple of weeks and months, so I dove in, did a little more research to figure out what's the best way we can approach this situation. And if you're looking for what the air quality is like within your area, the best way to go about that is look at the EPA's airnow.gov website. That's just airnow.gov. I'm going to link it down below if you need. You can go ahead, jump onto the website and just enter in your zip code, your city, and it's going to pop up a little profile of what the air quality is looking like in your area right now. Now, when it comes to wildfire smoke, the rating that we're looking for in particular is the PM 2.5 rating. And what the PM 2.5 rating stands for, it's just a representation of particle matter or particulate matter that is approximately 2.5 microns in size, which is really, really small. Now, that's important because the size, how small those particles are, make it really easy for those particles to get deep inside of our lungs and therefore transfer into our bloodstream. And with the way how there's so many toxic chemicals inside of wildfire smoke, it's not really something that you want inside of your body. In fact, one of the professors that studies atmospheric chemistry pointed out that wildfire smoke, after about 1 day from when it was originally emitted, so 1 day later, this smoke could be carried far out by winds, 50 miles, 100 miles. The smoke actually becomes 4 times more toxic than originally when it came out of the fire. It's pretty bad stuff. So now let's transition into the first study that I looked at. This study covered exposure to PM 2.5 particles on exercise and health. And basically, most of the subjects in this study were taking part in some sort of walking or cycling to get from one place to another. It's fair to say low intensity physical activities, all right? And what they basically came to find out was that when these subjects were exercising in this environment, there seemed to be more benefits from the exercise than there was from the exposure to the PM 2.5 particles at approximately 22 micrograms per cubic meter. All right, so that's just a representation of how much of those particles are within the air, right? 22 micrograms per cubic meter. Everything was looking pretty much that exercise was still beneficial at that point. Now, as the levels rose higher and higher and higher, then of course we hit a certain point where all of a sudden the health risks are now outweighing the benefits that the exercise would bring in. However, one thing that I do want to point out is that when it comes to this study, the activities that these subjects were taking part in are low intensity cardiovascular movements or types of exercise. And when the intensity of our exercise increases, the harder we work, the harder we push ourselves, obviously we're going to be breathing a lot more. In fact, when you compare low intensity to moderate intensity exercise, the amount of breaths we're taking in per minute already doubles. And when you go from low to high intensity, that amount triples, if not even a little more than that. So my point with that is that not only is it important to look at the level of PM 2.5 particles within the air, but it's also really important for us to pay attention to the types of activities we're doing within that environment. Because if you're breathing 3 times as much in an environment that might have a low PM 2.5 rating, you could be breathing in 2 times, 3 times as much of those particles as if someone who was just walking or cycling. So with that, make sure you pay attention to the type of movement that you're taking part in, within this environment. Now, moving on to the second study that basically did a review of most of the scientific literature that was looking at wildfire smoke exposure on the effect of health. Pretty much to sum it up, any amount of wildfire smoke exposure was contributing to people's all-cause mortality rate, which is basically just a chance for people to die in any given case, cause, or situation there. And my takeaways from having looked at these two different studies and diving into this topic a little deeper is that you probably don't want any amount of wildfire smoke taken into your body, especially with those PM 2.5 particles that can get really deep inside of your lungs and transfer into your bloodstreams. It's just not good news. I don't think you want any levels of toxins within your body. Now, if you are going to take part in some sort of exercise still, it's fair to say that lower intensity cardiovascular exercises like walking, like biking, as long as you're not picking up the pace too hard and increasing that to a moderate or high intensity type of training, you should probably be safe. Now, if you are planning on training outdoors and you're doing a full workout there or some sort of high intensity training, you might want to reconsider how long you're spending outdoors. Instead of spending an hour or an hour and a half, you might want to cut that down to 20 minutes or 30 minutes, at least until these things kind of blow over, right? Or better yet, take your entire workout and bring it indoors. That way you can hopefully be in a space that's got the air filtered out or cleaned in some way, so that you don't have to suffer the consequences of exposing yourself to higher amounts of this wildfire smoke. So to sum that up, pretty much wildfire smoke, exercise, those things don't quite mix together. Definitely shouldn't be a reason for you not to exercise, but we will have to kind of change up our routine a little bit so that we can keep ourselves moving during this time. So all of you out there, hope you stay safe. Try to stay indoors if you can. Hope this video was helpful to you. Go ahead, drop a comment, leave me a message. If there's any other topics that you would like me to dive into a little deeper there, I'd be more than happy to respond to those. So thanks again, take care, until the next one.